If you have come to a place where you don't have physical pain, you don't have emotional pain, that you're relatively comfortable sitting in this room, the temperature's okay, and no one is saying anything that's going to reach your ears and generate negative feelings. Most people just say things, they're soft-spoken, they're respectful, and you don't really have psychological issues. You don't have like trauma living inside your soul. And you don't really care how clear, concise, articulate, logical our conversations are. You want to know whether you feel it with something that lives inside you. And for the lack of a better word, I'm just going to call the soul. If that happens to be your pain, which comes with a good amount of yearning and longing, for me, that's a valuable pain to have. I remember one day when Hussein told me you have to kind of read and memorize the New Testament of the four Gospels. I went to him troubled because of the Gospel of Matthew, because he begins his book with the genealogy. You know, Joseph came from Jackie, Jackie came from Mackie, Mackie from... And I was curious, well, what does this mean? Who are these people? And I went to him and I said, can you tell me what is the meaning of all these people? I mean, who are they? I don't really care, and yet I'm curious. And he didn't know, of course, because he wasn't a New Testament scholar, or he didn't know the history of the New Testament and why it was written this particular way. You know, and because of that, he would never look at me and say, well, listen, Matthew is a Jewish gospel. And Matthew is cunning in the sense that he wants to make sure that if you're a Jew reading this book, that you can walk away feeling that Jesus is an extension of Moses. He's not really saying anything different. No, Hussein wasn't like that. So I took my intellectual curiosity to him. He smelled it, and he said, I don't really care for that question. It was my problem, but my problem was not valuable for him. So when you talk about pain, it's good to know what kind of pain you're talking about. You know, to which house, which story, which body it belongs to. Are you talking about physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, intellectual pain, spiritual pain? If you're talking about spiritual pain, I'm going to tell you what Attar said, which is درد بر من ریز و درمانم مکن چون که درد تو ز درمان خوشتر است. It's such an amazing line. You know, I had a friend who used to come here, and you know, she was on a certain life path. She was okay with that path. She was going through some difficult times, so once in a while when we had people here, she would come, she would listen. And there came a point where she began to feel the potency of these ideas. She began to like them. The problem with beginning to like these ideas was that for her was that it went against everything she believed in. It went against her history. And she had to kind of redefine who she was, and she had to redefine her life path, and it was just too much for her. And so, she wrote me some emails saying I sat in the park and I just all of a sudden just began to weep for half an hour. I was jogging, it was such a beautiful day, and all of a sudden I stopped myself saying, where the hell am I going? Why am I jogging? And I sat in the middle of the road, she wrote, and I just cried. And then she would often say, well, who's going to marry me in this condition? Who's going to like me? I'm like broken in 1,001 pieces. I mean, it was, for her, it seems, it was a very, very painful experience. And so she just packed up her stuff and disappeared completely. And the truth is, that's how the spiritual quest is for everyone. It goes against your life. It goes against your physical life. You know, it's like when Nicodemus goes to see Jesus. Jesus says, well, you know, that which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of spirit is spirit. You know, Jesus telling Nicodemus that my teachings, it's all spirit. And if you want to follow them, it's going to go against your flesh. It's going to go against the books you've read, the religion you hold, the God you believe in, your wife, your children, who you are, what you are. None of those things will ever matter. So Attar says, you know, so initially the path has a good amount of pain, and this pain is going to be with you very intensely for a long, long time, and you're not going to adjust. I mean, you will shed tears, but they'll not be the sort of tears that Bhavatar is talking about. They're not sweet. You're not creating flowers. They're bitter. They're painful. You want an answer because you just don't want to feel this burden on your shoulders anymore. And so Attar says, Dard bar man riz. You come to a place, if you do things the right way, where your prayer to God or your teacher, whoever it will be, I am knocking on your door because I want more pain. I want sorrow. And when you give me sorrow, you need to promise me that you're not going to remedy it. I don't want it remedied. Because when there is sorrow inside me, inasmuch as I hate it, it keeps me alive. It makes me mindful. It makes me aware. I know that I don't belong to the world of Caesar. There is a homesickness. I reflect. I feel. I wake up at night and I sit. I am restless. I'm creative. I'm inspired. I'm excited. I am lost. I'm confused. And I like those feelings. It's a very strange, thing to say. درد بر من ریز درمانم مکن چون که درد تو ز درمان خوشتر است. That you come to a place where you say, pain is much more sweeter than remedy. Being restless is much better than being rested. Being homeless is much better than having a home, having a place. Sloth can only be remedied through pain. In a few days I have to send this manuscript to this publisher. And the nice thing about this task is I wake up really early in the morning. I left the house this morning around 4:30. For 5 hours I just kind of wrote. And that's the thing that you need to combat sloth. It's a good pain. It's a pain that you really need to have in life to evolve, to grow, to mature. Remember the farmer story in the New Testament again. You may want the seed of sorrow inside you because it helps you think and feel and pray and meditate and write and all that stuff. The problem is this. The seed is being planted in an environment filled with vultures.